Oh, do we have a double whammy special treat for you guys out there listening to What the Football, taking it in wherever you are. Suzy and Amy with you. And guys, we got selfish. We went for two guests this week as we lead up to the Super Bowl. Amy, I thought, let's get Marshall Faulk on, Hall of Famer. Let's get him on. I'd love to hear his thoughts on Saquon Barkley, etc. But then Pete Carroll gets announced as the head coach of the Vegas Raiders. And I thought, Amy, let's get on Pete Carroll. Why wouldn't we have him come and sit down for his first one-on-one interview with What the Football? I mean, so excited to have him on, Amy. What do you think he's going to do as coach of the Raiders? What kind of representation is he for this team?
Well, I think he brings to the team maturity, stability, enthusiasm, energy. I like the hire.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I think he's just the energy and he's just the discipline that they really, really need. And I can't wait to talk to him in a moment or two about what he's going to bring and who he is. But I have to tell you, as someone who covered him on his first day at USC 25 years ago, we saw him bring back a storied franchise back to life. And I think that's exactly what he has the capability of doing for the Las Vegas Raiders.
I think you're right. I hope you're right. I plan to share with Pete some views that Al shared with me of Pete.
That's fantastic. I think we saw a little bit of what we're going to see ahead in Pete's first press conference with the Raiders. For those of you who did not see it, we're going to play it for you right now. And it's starring it's starring a certain running back that might remind you of the glory days in Seattle.
We do want to fill our stadium up with our guys. I know that we have a good draw for people from out of town. There you go. There you go.
Pete, you'd have a surprise visitor.
Oh, no, what are you
doing?
Were you up there the whole time? You just hide.
You ain't hear me yelling at you?
No, I didn't. Was that you that yelled?
Yeah, you the one that yelled at you.
You know what yell Raiders?
Who else gonna run that while you
Oh, yeah. Marshawn Lynch making his way down to the press conference to surprise his coach. I think that was fantastic.
Well, I'm covered in goosebumps watching that, and I've seen it a zillion times, and I'm still covered in goosebumps. And the fact that Marshawn was there speaks volumes. It speaks volumes about Pete. It speaks volumes about Marshawn. I love it.
Yeah, total harbinger of things to come, I think, because you're going to see that what Pete Carroll does more than anything else with his players is he creates a sense of loyalty and family. You saw that in Seattle. Like I said, you saw that at USC, and I think that's exactly what he will do in Las Vegas. So we'll catch up with the coach as well as Marshall Faulk, and we look ahead to the Super Bowl because I think it's a opportune time to start breaking things down ahead of time. Brent Musburger will be our guest as the final guest before the Super Bowl. So we get to kind of play with that a bit today, next week. But right now we're going to spend some time with Pete and also breaking down that Kansas City defense that has been so successful at reining in so many of these running backs and what can they do with Saquon Barkley.
And I'm going to say something right now that may result in you throwing something at my head. So if you're listening to this podcast and you hear a thunk, it's because Suzy threw something at me. That Pete carved time out today when he was just named the head coach is a testament to his respect for you and his appreciation for having worked with you all those years. I will tell you from having been on the inside of an organization, coaches don't do this the moment after they're hired, and that he is doing this with us is a loud statement about his respect for the woman you are.
Well, maybe he's just a big fan of What the Football.
Okay, that too.
Come on. Really, people, get with it. Join the club. And as promised, Pete Carroll joins us now on What the Football. Pete, it's selfishly so good to see you because we've only known you for 30 years when I covered you the first day of your job at USC. So, this feels like natural. Like you owe me this interview, right?
I do owe you this interview. You've been so kind to me over the years. So I made this very special effort here, and I want you to note that it's a special effort, but I only for you. Here we go.
Duly noted, counsel.
Yeah, really, really appreciate it. Let's go. What were these talks like, especially with Tom Brady getting ready for this gig?
It's really been extraordinary. Tom is an amazing person. The other people that have been assembled to be part of this ownership club and for the club, they're just rock stars. And so it's just been one kind of highlight after another. And it's been really, really enthralling. And I mean, it's hard to imagine how that is when you're talking to NFL club owners. How could they be? But these guys are rock stars. And so Tom is certainly that, and so consistent, because he has such a strong, deep conviction and belief that it just keeps coming through. And so who you're dealing with. Which is always really important for functioning well.
Tell me about this experience and the time that you had away, Pete, and what kind of perspective it gave you coming back to the game now.
It's been incredible. I had one other year, the year after New England, where I sat out and decided not to go back, for the reasons don't matter. And that is where I designed the philosophy that led me through. The next stop was USC, and the approach and the philosophy that came through the self-discovery that took place has been the foundation of everything that has meant, the success that we've had. And so this year I was, curious, what was it going to be like, man. I had so much opportunity and freedom of brain time to just conjure and recreate and reevaluate. It just happened again. This has been an extraordinary time frame, and the only way you can do it is to stop doing it. When you're in the middle of it, you can't get it done. So I'm just I have so many things that I want to adjust right now to things we've done in the past. So that's a good thing, and that's what staying curious gets you. And we've accomplished that, I think, this time around.
Yeah. Before I follow up with the so many things, because I want to know what the so many things are. I was just thinking, Amy, as I'm sitting here listening, when I met you at USC, you inherited a quarterback in Carson Palmer that was rattled by Paul Hackett's playbook and just, seemingly was overwhelmed. You turned him around. You made him into a Heisman Trophy winner and achieved incredible success there. And, it's interesting how you're walking into this Raiders organization. And Amy, you say this all the time, is in such bad need of leadership at the top and having an adult in the room. So how do you apply that same way that you turn the USC organization around, the way you turn the Seahawks organization around? How will you apply that here?
Well, it is very similar. And I'm hoping that the commonality of the challenge will bring out the best in us. You're one of the few people in your business that brings up the Carson Palmer story. That's an amazing story that is at the start and the heart of really the unveiling of how we did things and how we dealt with people and how it turned things around. Because Carson was really struggling back in that time, and it took us a year, and then by the second year he won the Heisman. He's the first guy in the draft picked, and he was always worthy of that physically. He was, capable, but it hadn't, come to fruition for him. And so all of that, what it took to get that done it wasn't just Carson. It was building the team around him and creating the balance that really good teams have that you can count on, and they take care of the football, and they use the clock well, and they run the football, and they have the fourth quarter to show off that running game, to finish games off with consistency, and on, all of the things that helps the quarterback be successful. Here it is again. We have to do that again, and we don't know who the quarterback is right now. We'll figure that out. But it's going to come from the same source of creating a really good team around that position. Everybody thinks it's just that guy. It isn't. In my mind, it's the whole thing. You have to create the support system that allows you to be really uncommonly consistent.
Pete, I concur with everything you just shared. Now, I don't know if anyone has ever shared this with you, so I shall. Al respected you.
I can't wait for this moment.
Well, no, I think you will. Al respected you. Al liked you, and I know that because he told me that. And now you are the leader of an organization. You are the leader of Raider Nation. So would you like to share a message with the Raider fans who I shall forever love?
Well, yeah, I'm challenging them. Okay, they've done a great job creating an iconic followership, and it's been extraordinarily obvious that there's something about the Raider following that makes them unique. Just like Al wanted it. That's exactly how he wanted it to be way back in the day. He dreamed this, he imaged it, and then he created it. Well, it's time to step it to the next level. Just as we're here to do the exact same thing, we need them to. When this stadium accepts our football team from the word go, we need them to be on and be a factor to help us win. If they want to win like they do, well, help us in every way. Fill that place up with our guys, not sharing it with the other people, and make it freaking raucous as it can possibly be, and all of the buildup, be part of it, and contribute in a way that I think is tangible. When we went to USC, they had never had sold out seasons. Well, we had, I think, 5 in a row at one time or something like that. You can change, you can shift the emphasis of the following and create an advantage that you didn't have before. Well, let's go. So we love them. We're dedicating our effort and everything we do to make them feel proud and support us in a way that we know will contribute to the winning. So I don't mind challenging them, and I know they'll take the challenge. They're tough and they're hard, and they want to be part of something great, and that's what we're going to try to do here.
And I will hope for you that they embrace you and support you and encourage you the way they did for me, because it was tremendously meaningful throughout my career. It still is.
Yeah, no kidding. You mentioned so many things that you want to affect, obviously, at the quarterback position. That's got to be at the top. So what are your plans, and might there be any chance of a Russell Wilson reunion?
Right now, Suzy, it's so early. I mean, we're just in the midst of just trying to, find the puzzle pieces, not even putting them together yet. So I can't even say. I mean, guys are still, free agency hasn't come yet. That's the first competitive opportunity that will occur, and then the draft is coming. We'll have that opportunity to do things. I can't tell you right now. I mean, I could guess, but it would just be a guess. So, but I promise you, if you're a real competitor, you're not letting options get away from you. So we're going to consider every option as a possibility, and we're going to go after it very aggressively with intent, and hopefully with a sense and a feeling that people want to be part of this thing. So.
Well, make sure you let Amy and me know first, will you please? Besides
we're always going to be first.
Yeah, of course. We're first.
I thought I'm paid up now. I thought
No.
Pete, you should know me better than that. That's for this week. I don't know if you remember this. I'm sure you do. I told Amy. You remember when you came to NFL Network to go check out Rich's show or something like that, and then Ken Norton was walking in. You're like, "Hey, Ken, meet me in the parking lot." And then 2 seconds later, you'd hired him away from Total Access, and he became the linebackers coach at USC.
Right.
Remember that?
When we went out to that parking lot right there, I held on to him. I said, "Hang in here now. We got something to talk about." That's exactly right. You probably the only person on the planet that knew that even took place. That did.
It made me think, Amy. Marshawn Lynch, when he went into your press conference the other day and he started screaming Raider Nation in the back, could we possibly see Marshawn Lynch on the sidelines as a coach? Am I going to break any stories here?
Well, I don't know that. I don't know that he'll be as a coach. He may be on the sidelines. I'm sure he's going to be with us. He'll be with us a lot. He is so fired up. He is so excited about this happening. We've talked on the phone a number of times late at night when he calls me, and I see that Oakland number coming in. I know exactly what's happening. Here we go. But to be here, think about that.
Wonderful.
He made a special effort to be here, and he said, "I'm going to be there." I said, "No, you aren't. You're not going to make it. You won't do that." And sure enough, he was the guy that yelled in the background. I made the joke that it was Mark Davis, but it was Marshawn, and. We were hugging it up, having a blast, man. He's been a tremendous relationship in my life, in my coaching life, and he's an unforgettable individual and presence.
As good a football player as he was, he's an even better person.
He's remarkable, and not everybody knows that, Amy. Not everybody realizes about him. Because he puts up such a hard image and a hard veneer about he's a softie. He's got a wonderful heart. He cares so much about where he came from and his people and his family and the people he played with. He was so valuable in the locker room with our team. And everybody think, well, he doesn't say anything and he wasn't part of it. I always used to say, listen to the things he's not saying. And there's a story there that he doesn't have to say anything to tell you. It's right there for you if you want to write about it. But remember all the trouble we had at the Super Bowl, I think was when the last time that happened. But anyway, very special, and I love him, and I love that he's so excited about what's going on.
And he does so much, as you noted, he does so much for the community, and he does it the best way. He does it quietly. He doesn't let people know how much he does, and he does a magnificent amount.
He really does. Pete, listen.
He's a monster and doing great work.
Listen, I'm watching the clock carefully for you. I'm going to say thank you so much for your time. And look, we wish you nothing but the greatest of success. Obviously, nobody loves the Raiders more than Amy Trask. But, look, the energy that you bring, I was so lucky to get to cover you for so many years at USC. We just wish you the best of luck and have fun with this opportunity because nobody deserves it more than you do.
I love the hire, and Al would have loved the hire too.
Oh, that warms my heart. He is an amazing guy to have grown up under and watched his program. He just made something out of nothing. It was amazing. Amy, nice to talk to you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. Thank you, Pete.
Always.
I think we're going to have to send him some What the Football gear to decorate that office of his. I believe he got pulled into a conference room in the middle of meetings. He gave us a little 10-minute window, which is fantastic because he's not talking to anybody else today on this, and then is hopping back into more meetings. What do you think he's doing up there day one, Amy?
Oh, well, they're interviewing for coaching positions. They're interviewing for other positions throughout the organization. He's contacting players. He is doing a lot, and it is just a whirlwind of activity. So, again, the fact that he cut this time out is just tremendous.
I guarantee you one guy who was 100% on board with this was Max Crosby because he's exactly Max Crosby's kind of coach. He'll be out there running with the guys, out there working out with the guys, pushing them. And, no one's going to care about what numbers on Pete Carroll's back because he's going to be out there proving every day that he's one of those guys.
And there were some terrific pictures, and there was great video of Pete and Max at the facility when Pete was announced.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like a perfect hire. Let's just transition for a second to looking ahead at the interview with Marshall Faulk that's coming up shortly. We're going to talk to him about Saquon Barkley and about his role in Philadelphia. And also we're going to talk to him about a woman named Tanya Jones. I don't know if you know who she is, but she is Saquon Barkley's mom. She was stopped by O.J. Spivey of the Philly Tribune, and he asked her a couple of questions about Saquon and his transition to Philadelphia.
Well, his time at Philly, just for him, for the family, how has that been for you guys since he's
been great. It's been great for him to finally be somewhere where he's able to showcase his talent without people talking about him, without this, without that. Running backs, they don't deserve this, they don't deserve that. Yeah, okay, now we see.
All right, Tanya. All right.
Shout out to moms.
I hear you as a mom. I hear you, Tanya, and you are throwing some shade at Joe Schoen. And I'm telling you right now, I'm there for it and I like it.
Let me tell you something. I know you, and in a situation with a microphone in your mouth, if you had the opportunity to stand up for one of your children, watch out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I love that she did that in every sense of the word. She threw some shade at Joe Schoen, and she let him know what time it was. And it's time for her little boy to go out there and play in his first ever Super Bowl. That is so sick, and that is so insane. And by the way, if I'm that GM, I don't know where I'm hiding on Super Bowl Sunday.
That's a good point.
It really is. Well, we're going to ask Marshall Faulk about that momentarily because very few people know what it feels like to play in a Super Bowl and forget about playing in a second Super Bowl. And also, let's face it, there's a lot of similarities to what we're seeing on the field between how Saquon Barkley plays and Marshall Faulk does as well. And as promised, Marshall Faulk joins us here on What the Football. Thanks again for answering my call, Marshall.
Anytime. You already know.
Tell me your advice for Saquon Barkley as he looks at his first Super Bowl.
Does he need advice?
Maybe from you. Maybe from you.
There's not much to say if I'm reaching out to him. Literally, one of the things that really struck me in the first Super Bowl that I played in, and it took some getting used to, and it's super weird because normally when you play in NFL games, you're either home or you're away. Being in this neutral site, it's like you either feed off the emotions of the fans when you make them clap or when you sit them down. And it takes some getting used to. I remember it was difficult. Like a good play would happen and you hear cheers and boos. It's like, what is this? So if there was something I could tell him, because I don't think, as far as the actual game goes on, Watching him in these playoff games and how prepared his readiness and what he's been able to do. And I think he has one of the best offensive lines, not just in the game, but to ever play the game. What they're doing is just unbelievable. And it's funny. I was just thinking, I was like, if I was chasing Kelsey, I'd probably be wondering, man, was I any good?
Right? I think about
Based
that
on what
all the
they're
time.
It's unbelievable to see what they're like. You got a Hall of Fame caliber guy in Jason Kelsey, and what they're doing without him. It's like, man, unbelievable.
Great
That
point.
that offensive line coach is man, it's impressive. But this kid, he has it. Like he has all the talents, and he's ready for the moments.
All right, Marshall. Suzy asked you what you'd advise Saquon. I'm going to reverse that. What advice would you give the Kansas City defense facing that offensive line and that running back?
I love what I'm seeing from Kansas City and just how well they play, and the fact that, yep, we talk about Patrick Mahomes and all of this stuff, but this defense has literally been the reason why this team is in the position that they're in this year. So stay at home. Um, uh, they have to tackle the football. You can't just try to tackle Saquon. You got to attack the football as well. Make him conscious about not just breaking long runs, but the minute that you get a running back thinking about protecting the football, he's not as good of a runner. It's just that's just facts. It's like blitzing the quarterback. When you blitz a quarterback, if you get to him, he's worried about the blitz. Um, Outside of that, that's all you can do. But as I'm saying this, I know that Steve Spagnuolo is like this dude is a savant. Like he is going to have something different to show Philadelphia and present something different. And you might not see it in the first half, you might not see it in the third quarter, but in the fourth quarter, whatever he has to do to get Mahomes the ball back, or like he did against Josh Allen, everybody was like, "Oh, we want to see Josh Allen with the ball at the end of the game to win the game," and you did. But you got to see the greatness of Steve Spagnuolo as a defensive coordinator.
And we also saw the emotionality of Chris Jones on the field too, just in tears, knowing he was going back to the Super Bowl. And since Amy, you brought up that great point about how well they play on the line, I immediately thought of him just because he's such the captain of the line and how he plays is so spectacular. So what's it like in your brain as you look at a guy like that on the line and you look at Saquon and you look at how this is really a battle of these two lines with a guy like him that can run? So how do you measure this up?
Those interior three offensive linemen for the Philadelphia Eagles, they've been great. And, they handled Jalen Carter and company pretty decent. But Chris Jones he's a different beast. Like, I know you've heard this, he can play up and down the line. He literally can play every position on the line. And if they ran the 34, he can line up outside, stand up and rush. That's how talented and how awesome he is. And what I love is, guys wear tape and they wear gloves and stuff like this dude. He's out there. He's a throwback player. Like he just goes out there and causes havoc. He's going to be in the mix when the play has to be made. That's just it. I love what he brings to this defensive line. And think about what they lost. They lost at linebacker. What they lost in the secondary. They've let a lot of guys go. I mean, they made it. Was it Snead? Was it Snead? They had to make a decision this year between who they paid, he or Snead, and they decided to keep him. And what a great decision.
Well, and you guys wisely brought up the line of scrimmage, and that's where most games are won or lost. Chris Jones, love him, love him, love him. But you know what? Philadelphia has to worry about George Karlaftis as well, and it's math. It's 11 on 11. And if you're going to double George, Chris is going to be open. And if you're going to double Chris, George is going to be open. And that could be trouble. And I agree with you entirely, Marshall. Spags is just tremendous.
Yeah. For whatever reason, Kansas City, they find a way. When you have like rushers, then Patrick Mahomes has like a knack for buying extra time. He deals with the pressure very well. I think the only game that I saw I think it was the Super Bowl when Brady beat him against Tampa. Man, and he was playing with some those tackles probably were second, third on the depth chart kind of guys, I believe. And if I'm misspeaking, I'll take that back. But he got his butt kicked in that game. That's the only time I've ever seen the pressure consistently bother him and affect him. For whatever reason, it just does not affect him. I don't know why.
You want to weigh in on the controversy about whether or not Mahomes gets favoritism out there?
I think the faces of the NFL. That's how you get treated. I mean, let's not pretend like all of the rules that they put in to protect the quarterback, because to not have the quarterbacks, I mean, that's a bad part. Like, if we lost one of these quarterbacks in the Super Bowl, I mean, that's an awful game. Like, literally, all the commercials, like, they'll stop watching. It just doesn't happen. So, yes, I think all quarterbacks get favoritism. Yes, if you're like in the top 3, 4, 5, you're really getting favoritism, because I think up until this year, we had no idea who the backup quarterbacks were for the Kansas City Chiefs, because I think he played in week 18. I think he played the last game of the season, and I still can't call his name. But I think he won. No, they lost. They lost that game. They lost the last game of the season because they thought they threw the game, and somebody was mad that Kansas City didn't play their starters. But anyways, yes, Patrick. And you know what? Deservedly, he should get preferential treatment.
Because I heard Julian Edelman on Rich's show earlier saying that he called it baloney instead of bullshit, which I thought was very classy on television. But, he said that favoritism is ridiculous and didn't happen to Tom Brady. And I was like, well, yeah, it did. And I'm okay with it, by the way. Like, man. Yeah, it did. And oh, by the way, maybe you're right. Maybe it's because these guys have earned it as opposed to it just being thrown out there. Now, don't forget, I have a kid at home who hates anything that has to do with the Chiefs because he hates Taylor Swift. I have a kid who's obsessed with Taylor Swift. So we have a lot of this stuff going on at home, right? But let's face it, right? This is not about, Cooper's like, the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl because the NFL wants Taylor Swift to be on TV. And I'm like, no. Maybe. But also because they want to see Patrick Mahomes and they want to see Travis Kelce and they want to see Worthy and they want to see a bunch of these guys. But they've earned the right to be there year in and year out, which is why we start throwing out the D word of dynasty.
Dynasty was an dynasty. Go ahead.
Not just a show. Not just a show. Yeah.
No. Go ahead, Amy.
I was just going to say, dynasty versus parity was something that the 30 years I sat in NFL owners meetings, that was a topic at a lot of meetings. There were, the goal of the NFL is parity, that fans believe any given day their team can win any given game and any given season they can win it all. There were a few owners in the room who believed in dynasties, who wanted dynasties. And I remember at one point Al saying something to me about, dynasties are okay. And I said, well, then if you want a dynasty, go be a dynasty.
Here's the thing. We have parity in our league. Let's be clear. The Washington Commanders being in the position that they are in shows parity. It's there. What happens is you have these generational guys. Patriots, there was parity, but they had Tom Brady. When you have these guys, and Patrick Mahomes is that now, these guys that they live it, and they are going to be accountable. Like you can count on them, and they're not going to lose the game for you. And if they have a chance, they're going to win it. Like, you have to take the game from Patrick Mahomes. There's no him giving it to you. You have to take the game from him. And when you have that, you then can start to create dynasties. Here's the thing. Here's how we know that this team that there's parity in the league. Look at the money that's spent on the wide receivers, the people he has to throw the ball to. You got an old guy in Travis Kelce. We call him old guy. He was washed up. They were calling him the old guy. He had two receivers that nobody else wanted, Hopkins and Juju. And they're two burner guys. One was hurt, and the other one was struggling to fit into the normal parts of the offense. That's all he wanted to do was run go routes. Both of their tackles are suspect. One people think jumps off like false starts every time. Like that team is not a dynasty in the classic cases of, if you look at the talent on the Pittsburgh Steelers back when they had their dynasty, or what the Dallas Cowboys did in the 90s. Those were dynasties that were built because free agency didn't allow it, or you spent a lot of money, or some team decided that they wanted Herschel Walker and they sold the farm. I mean, it just doesn't happen like that anymore with that collection of talent. What is being done by the Kansas City Chiefs is unheard of. These are different bodies, different people that they can rely on and depend on. I think this will be his second group of tackles that he's won a Super Bowl with. I mean, it's unbelievable what the Chiefs have been able to do in this league where parity is what it's all about with the salary cap and everything else.
Yeah, he did have a bunch of injuries at the O-line there too. So then what is it, Marshall? Is this a dynasty in disguise? What brings this all together?
Yeah.
Is it the coaching?
No, it's Patrick Mahomes. This is Patrick Mahomes. This is coaching, and this is the front office. This is the alignment of the three of them. And here's what we never hear an argument about Andy Reid wanting a player and the front office not wanting a guy. You never come out of Kansas City. Never the case. When a decision had to be made about who are we going to keep? Is it going to be Chris Jones? I think whether Jerry Sneed. Like they make these decisions and they just keep it moving. It's no problem. When it was like we got a receiver that don't want to be here, Tyreek Hill. Okay, well let's trade him. Let's let him go. No problem. Like we'll win without him. And I'm gonna tell you, I was like, oh my God, into this offense. There's no way. Yeah, there's a way. Actually, two ways. Like this would be the second Super Bowl that they win without Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek's now, he gets a little unhappy.
Yep.
He's not used to not winning.
I think you really learn a lot about who these players are, Marshall. When they bitch and moan and complain and they want all this stuff and suddenly they leave and life goes on without them, you know?
Well, and Marshall, I'm interested to know what you think about. You know what? You can plead the fifth. You don't have to answer. You mentioned Tyreek and Suzy. You just mentioned you learn a lot about players. My experience in the league, wide receivers are prima donnas. Agree or disagree? Of any position on the team, that was always the position that was the prima donna position. Agree or disagree or plead the fifth?
I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna agree with you. But there's two guys that I played with that were not at the position, and Marvin Harrison. He never ever griped or bitched to get the ball, and Isaac Bruce was probably an ultimate team player. He was okay with Torrey Holt coming in as a rookie, with Rick Kroll playing, with Oz Hakeem. All Isaac wanted to do was win.
And by the way, I will note something. I agree with Stephen A. Smith, who shared this with us on What the Football. He was with us not for a lot of years, but we had Jerry Rice, and Jerry was the antithesis of a prima donna.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, we say this all the time. It's like A-list celebrities aren't assholes. It's the B and the C-list celebrities that are assholes. You know what I mean? Like if you're that famous, like Tom Hanks is not an asshole. I could name a lot of D-listers who were just total assholes, right? It's the same thing as wide receivers.
Yeah, pretty much.
We also talk about the running back position with you all the time and about these GMs who don't value the running back position. And, you know, Saquon's mom, she popped the Giants GM right in the nose, basically saying, you didn't value my kid and now you're paying for it. And I'm sure that must have been music to your ears as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my comments about the Giants general manager and what he literally went on Hard Knocks and did, and yet was able to retain a job. Boy, that right there, that is unbelievable. I mean, that's like I thought you could only get away with that if you were a politician, but obviously even general managers can get away with it. But the reality is this here. I just think that in today's game, the general managers and the guys that do the scouting, they're just looking for the easy route. You know, they need to make the easier decision. Man, Saquon. And here's my thing. I understand this New York Giants GM and front office. If we give this guy this money, and he's been hurt a lot, and I think he played one full season in totality without missing a game. How do you do it? Well, we got to let it go be somebody else's problem. You can't let it be the Eagles' problem in your division. I could not let that happen. And I understand what they did, but not for the reason why they did it. Not for believing in Daniel Jones, only enough to have Daniel Jones be standing on the sidelines during the playoff game that the Minnesota Vikings are playing. It's just unbelievable. Like, you messed up on both sides with both guys. And you just can't do that. You just can't do it. Evaluate the players, give them a grade, and know that if you give us a chance, we can perform for you. Ask the Baltimore Ravens with Derrick Henry, and there's a bunch of other guys out there too. You just got to put us in position and put the right pieces around us.
Well, and the 2 points you made as to Saquon and to Daniel, those are interlinked. They are intertwined. One of a quarterback's best friends is the running game, because the better the running game, the more the passing game is open. I'm not telling you a damn thing you don't know, Marshall. You did this. The more that the defense has to focus on a running game, the more open receivers are. It goes together. But you know what? For a moment, let's just give a shout out to Saquon's mom. Way to defend your son. That was absolute mom perfection.
Yes, and you know what? She defended him because they offended him.
Beautiful.
They literally offended him by not respecting the talent. And thank God they didn't. I'm glad they didn't sign him and then trade him, because then he wouldn't have got a chance to go to a contender. And getting a chance to go to a contender, like I remember when I got traded. It's funny. And we always talk about this, and I love Bill Polian, and he's in the Hall of Fame. And we kick this can down the road, but Bill Polian didn't send me to the St. Louis Rams to win. He wasn't doing me any favors. They drafted Edgerrin James, and Edge turned out and had a hell of a career. Worked really well for them. He's in the Hall of Fame as well. But I want you to know, when teams let you go, they're not hoping for the best for you.
That's right.
Let's be honest. That's not the case, because that general manager, he's worried about his job. He's worried about how people see him and what he does.
Yeah, it's a business. I mean, he's not your friend. It's a business.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're making decisions on what's best. And listen, when you draft a guy, when you let a guy go and you draft a guy, you're hoping the guy that you bring in does well, and the guy goes elsewhere and maybe do okay. You're not wishing bad on him, but you're not like, oh, I want him to be the league. I want him to win the Super Bowl one year, then be the league MVP next year. You're not saying that, because it says something about your ability to evaluate.
You think the Giants, I mean, how do you think this GM survived? Because clearly it touched a nerve with you watching him on Hard Knocks the way he was.
It's just, we all make mistakes. And
this is a big one.
I felt like it was. I felt like if you get rid of the general manager, then you got to get rid of the head coach. And I don't think it was Daboll's fault. I think Daboll's a heck of a coach. He was just given a bad bag of goods to win with, and it just didn't work. You can't take your best player away and expect you to win. It wasn't his fault. So why not give them both another year? And if it doesn't work, you clean house next year. That's all. Right. And this year it was going to be super hard with all of these teams. I mean, you really didn't have your pick of a head coach. The head coaches got to pick where they wanted to go. I mean, it's unbelievable that you get to do that. Like a head coach get to tell a team, oh yeah, I'm not going to take a visit there because of instability of I never heard of that. But so many jobs were available. I think next year probably won't be as many jobs available. And if it doesn't work, then the Giants will get to clean house and do what's best. But the GM, he made a mistake, man, and hopefully he will go on record and relieve himself by saying, "Hey, yes, I made a mistake," because he was pounding his chest and he was too proud of the decision that he made and how he went about it. It was like he was just talking about a guy who was at the end of his career. And this kid is in his prime.
He's in his prime. Do you recognize any of yourself in him or vice versa?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I just, I look at him and I see a lot of, from the perspective of being a threat anywhere on the football field, in the running game and the passing game, and making sure that people account for you at all times when you're on the field. That's what Saquon does best. I just think I love the fact that they brought some pressures and he stuck his nose in there and made some key blocks and stuff like that. The things that don't look sexy. When they stacked that line of scrimmage and Jalen had to drop dimes. Whether he lined up as a receiver and was accountable or in the backfield making blocks, it's good to see an all-purpose back, playing, and he's playing a lot of downs. I get on a lot of guys for subbing out, and he has a damn good backup, but he's playing a lot of downs because he understands in the playoffs there's not as many downs, so a check down could sometimes be a very important play, and you want to be in there for it.
You talked about players. You mentioned account for them on the field. We used to call those, where are they players? Where are they players? When you go up to the line of scrimmage and you have to say, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Because you have to account for him. And that's what, we used to say to our defense. Who are the where are they players? Your word account for them is far more eloquent than my where are they players. But, one other thing about Saquon, we talk a lot about team players. And that's sometimes an overused expression. It certainly is not with him. For all the reasons that you just mentioned, Marshall. And I was so impressed during the season when the coach said to him, should we put you back in? You have a chance to break another record. And he said, no, let some of the younger guys play. And that really hit me because we talk so much about team players. That's a team player.
Yeah, and he led the league in carries too. I mean, it's not like he's just a team player and he looks it. He's showing up on paper. And I think that's what you're saying, Marshall, is that this guy's not afraid to take the rock.
No, he's not. He's not. And I heard something the other day. I think he was on the pivot with Ryan Clark and the guys, and he said, I was on a 1-year deal with the Giants, and I just didn't have the security to play with the freeness that I play with now, and that security is important. It's like when you look at all these other sports, they got these guaranteed contracts, and they get to play with security. And the most violent sport, you got a guy playing on the 1-year deal with no security, but we're asking him to put it all on the line. And listening to him say that, I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. And what we're seeing, we're just seeing his best effort. And I'm not saying he didn't give his best effort when he was with the Giants. I'm saying they didn't give him an opportunity to give his best effort.
They didn't best position him to be his best, and the Eagles have.
Yeah, Yeah, they have.
Let's go back to the Super Bowl. And I know that you were a big napper before games.
Yeah.
I want you to tell the story about your napping schedule and how that got affected at the Super Bowl, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, with all the different, the first Super Bowl, I figured it out. I was like, I had it planned. The second Super Bowl was a little different because of 9/11, and they threw in it was weird. There was a pre-concert before that got in the way of my sleep schedule.
Well, hold on. We got to set this up right, guys. For all of you listening, Marshall was a big napper before games. He gets so calm before games that you would take a nap in the chaos, right?
Wait.
Right.
Suzy, are you saying he took a nap in the locker room?
Yes.
Yeah.
In the locker room.
How the hell do you take a nap in the locker room?
So all of this stuff is going on. Guys are getting ready, and I'd lay down and I just
like on a bench
while
on the
all
floor?
this is going on. No, I'm out on the floor in my locker. I'd either sit and put my legs up, or I'd sit in the locker and put my legs on the stool, and I'd get me a little cat nap in, and it as AJ Brown reads book on the side, like I got like that. That was my like the first Super Bowl we played in was a normal Super Bowl. The second Super Bowl we played in was right after 9/11, and they put this U2 concert before the game, and it cut into my timing of when I got to the stadium, when do we go out, when do we have to come back in, how much time we had to wait before we went out, and it really threw me off. It's amazing how we are so creatures of habits that little things like that get in the way. And I mean, I'm from New Orleans. I'm very superstitious. I just I account all things as different or get in the way of routines as a bad omen in a sense. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have my best game that game. So I love I'm this person. When chaos is going on, I am the most calm you're ever going to see me. I thrive in chaos. Like I'm my best when things are their worst.
Well, I'm good in chaos as well, but I suck at taking naps. So, Marshall, I would like you next time you come and visit us in studio to coach me on how to nap.
Okay.
I got to figure out.
I can get you there. I can show you how to. There's some really
Okay.
good. There's some really good meditation podcasts and stuff to like get you in the space to where you can shut off. You can shut off the noise. You can turn off your brain and just allow yourself to get into sleep state.
All right, you're going to coach me up.
Yeah.
And I love that you brought up the AJ Brown of it all, because while people were bitching and moaning, complaining, he's reading a book. I thought it was great.
Loved it.
If you know yourself well enough to create your environment on the bench of a game so that you feel like you're a better player because of it, I'm all for it.
You know, people and definitely people in Philadelphia, they get on Sirianni. But I'm just glad that he's able to coach his team, but yet coach individuals as well, and allow players to space to be themselves. That's so big in the game. I believe that's Andy Reid's greatest trait. I think that what he does with his players and how he does things and how he allows them to be who they are. And if you think about over the years, whether it's Kansas City or in Philadelphia, the personalities that he dealt with, the different types of guys, to have a Terrell Owens and a Deshaun Jackson. You know, it's like, wow. And then you throw LaShawn McCoy in the mix as well. You know, those are some big personalities to manage. And he's been able to do it. And how about this? I know we get into the what, and I just want to say this. You know, as much as we talk about Taylor Swift and the Kansas City Chiefs, she has not interrupted anything, any chemistry or anything with that team. It has not bothered. Nobody has said we don't want her in the locker room or we don't want her in the family area. None of that. And there's always issues with celebrities in these spaces. And I'm gonna say that's a testament to Taylor Swift and her team for just going with the flow or whatever is best for Kelsey, for Travis, and the Kansas City Chiefs and their organization.
I think 100%. I think game knows game.
Yes.
And she knows what it takes to perform night in and night out. I know I went to 3 shows. She is a beast. She is a machine. We are, except for Cooper, of course, we are like her biggest fans in our house. And by the way, Taylor, if you're listening, Cooper would be very excited to meet you. So we're all good. But like, I know she's busy listening to What the Football on a regular basis. She texts me all the time to say that was a great show with Marshall. But look, game knows game.
So right, Suzy.
Game knows game.
Right.
And this, I don't know if you ever heard this, Marshall, but she apparently gets on the treadmill and sings her entire set list on the treadmill like multiple times a week training for this. Like, that's what I think is special about this. I have no problems with it because she has shown Andy Reid a tremendous amount of respect from what I've heard from other people back there. Great to all of the security people coming through, cool with the other wives, which, by the way, you know how wives can be. And, she's made, maybe, let me psychoanalyze. Maybe she's given Travis like a comfortable place for himself to be at the top of his game as he builds throughout leading up to the playoffs, because he has gotten better as the playoffs have went on. Who knows if there's just some kind of symbiosis there where when you're that big, it's like we said about the A-list, B-list, C-list celebrities. When you're that big, you don't need it.
Well, and if you're just a good person, you're a good person. And she appears to be a good person. Look, you mentioned her treadmill. I said this at the time. She did a concert in Denver. Maybe she did multiple ones. She sang for 3.5 hours. No football team had better again complain about the altitude in Denver if she could do what she did for 3.5 hours.
Hey, Susan, I have a question for you.
Yeah, babe.
Did you just break news that I don't know about? You said the other wives?
Well,
or just the wives?
The wives.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear. You said
love
the
you, Marshall.
other wives. I was like, did I miss something?
Marshall, thank you so much for joining us on this edition of What the Football. It wouldn't be great, honestly, like you know me, I like to drop a dime. I would have flexed if I'd known something good.
I really love you,
But
Marshall.
I'm just saying, when you said the other wives, I was like, she meant wives. Hold on,
I
wait.
mean wives.
I gotta ask.
Yeah.
Did I miss something?
Wouldn't that have been hot if I could break that on What the Football?
Listen,
Maybe you did.
Suze.
Yeah, baby.
Maybe I just stopped you from going viral. Like somebody probably, damn it.
Thanks a lot, Marshall. Great job.
Yeah.
I would love to drop that dime. Are you kidding? My sources tell me. I don't know. But you know how it can be. It can get chippy.
Oh, I know. I trust me. I know.
I mean, come on.
Her and Patrick Mahomes' wife, they're like best buds. You know what I did like though? I did like seeing Caitlin Clark in the like, I love the fact that, I'll be honest, as we found out that Taylor Swift didn't know much about football. I don't know if she's ever watched a WNBA game, but just the fact that the stardom that Caitlin Clark has been thrusted up in, and like a lot of responsibility that goes along with being the face of the WNBA right now. There's no better person to like befriend and take lessons from and hang around than Taylor Swift. No. Like she is in great company, and I don't blame her. I would have been in that box too. Like coach me up, like show me what to do.
And I got to tell you, when my Taylor saw that Taylor with Caitlin Clark, she was more excited about Caitlin Clark because her favorite T-shirt that she wears 4 or 5 times a week says, "I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22," with the Caitlin Clark on the back, because she's number 22. Great song, by the way, very catchy. I've seen it many.
You gonna sing it now?
I can't sing; it's so bad. But my point is, it is the greatest conglomeration of girl power I have ever seen in one spot, and I love it because I love Caitlin Clark. I'm okay by saying I love Taylor Swift. Feel pretty good about myself. But that was such a great moment. And you're right. I mean, we're talking about work ethic, meeting work ethic, and star power meeting star power. And 2 women who are arguably the biggest names in entertainment right now sharing chairs, and it looks like it looks like that crazy actor behind, but I don't think it is. It looks like, what's his name? It's not Jonah Hill. Doesn't it look like Jonah Hill in the background? It's very funny.
We can go with not Jonah Hill.
It's not Jonah Hill.
Check out the UCLA
We can go with
jacket.
not Jonah Hill.
It's all good. I know the UCLA. Look, who's wearing the UCLA? This is crazy. Who's wearing that jacket? Well, anyway, Taylor looks
else,
great.
man.
Caitlin looks awesome, and it's game meeting game. And you're right. There's no Yoko Ono at all with her there at all.
Well,
It's
and you
great.
nailed it, Susie. You said work ethic, and the two of those women work. And you know what? Whenever anyone asks me, career advice, work hard. Work as hard as you can. And when you don't think you can work any harder, find a way to work harder.
Marshall, how hard is it to go back to Super Bowls? Like, as we look at this potential
Extremely hard.
three-peat. I mean, I lived it with Shaq and Kobe and got to do that three-peat. And I saw what it was like, but the NBA is a far different and less violent game than the NFL.
Yeah, it's extremely hard to have a core group of guys to embrace and embody a goal and a task with one vision, one mentality, which is win the Super Bowl, not get MVP, not stats, not all of that. It's so hard because in the game, you need to take care of your family. You need to make money. You need to have stats. You need to do all of that stuff. And to get guys to sacrifice for the greater good, it's so hard. And what I love about Kansas City, what I love about the Chiefs, what I love about what Mahomes does, what I love about what Chris Jones does, they're top-notch guys. They not just buy in, they embrace it. Like it is what it's all about. It's not about getting a sack. It's not about for Mahomes getting league MVP. It's about, did we win the damn game? And that's it.
Who's going to win?
I'm not going against Patrick Mahomes. I'm just like I've learned my lesson. This is starting to feel like, when you're playing the New England Patriots, and the effect that Brady had on the game, because at the position where you need it the most, when you have the best guy, not just like the best guy playing right now, but arguably one of, if not, you could put him in the argument, one of the best guys to ever play the position. It's just not fair. And I'm taking nothing away from Jalen Hurts and what he has accomplished, getting the two Super Bowls over the last 3 years. I'm just saying that guy, number 15, and what he has kind of taken on and embraced. Like, he watched Tom dominate the league and be the reason why a lot of quarterbacks in the AFC did not win Super Bowls. And if they did, they only got one on his watch. Maybe two while he was playing. He just, like, right now, it's worse than that. He's telling Lamar, he's telling Josh Allen, he's telling Joe Burrow, not on my watch.
Marshall, love you. Thanks for making the time.
I really do adore you,
Thanks
Marshall.
for having me, ladies. Thanks for having me. I appreciate every time you guys have me on.
All right, we'll see you next week.
We appreciate you.
Thanks, babe.
Bye-bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this double dip of What the Football. It just seemed greedy not to share it with all of you out there. I mean, come on. When do you get to have the experience like this where you get to sit down with two of your favorite people at the same time in a football podcast and sit here with you? It's pretty great. So we hope that you enjoyed it. And next week we'll have Brent Musburger on as promised. I think a nice little Vegas nod again, 2 weeks in a row. A lot of Vegas
that's
for
a good
you,
point.
Princess
And
of Darkness.
By the way, nice double dip reference. I'm going to go have some ice cream.
Well, thank you so much. Take care this week. Have a great ice cream for me. And for all of you who watch What the Football, we appreciate the time it takes for you to download a podcast, especially of this length. So we do hope that you enjoyed it. And drop any questions, any comments that you have, of course, unless they're horrendously misogynistic. And then I just like to kind of come back. And some guy last week wrote something like, chicks shouldn't talk about football, but he wrote CHIC. And I was laughing. I was like, dude,
at least spell it right.
Chicks is with a K, but if you think we look chic, thanks so very much. So with that in mind, I will say thank you for taking in this edition of What the Football, and we will see you next week.